things.
I just saw your stories where you were like low-key sassing me. And listen, I actually have a wild card to throw at you about our draft race that you have not stopped to consider.
Okay.
So I have to ask you, what is the purpose of draft race?
So I can beat you.
No, but like our end goal.
Right? I don't even know.
Finish a draft, yeah?
Yeah.
It's like an logical answer. It wasn't a trick question.
Oh, okay.
So the end goal is to finish a draft. And I have just realized something, Angela.
Oh, no.
Claire. Whilst you may be ahead by whatever, I don't know, 10,000 words or something like that. I don't know if you stop to think that I tend to be an underwriter for my first draft, which means whilst I may be, I did manage to get 1,000 words in this morning. So I'm at 49,000. Nice. Whilst I might only be at 49,000 and you might be at
55,000.
That's epic. Yeah. I think you're more of an overrider, aren't you? So you're going to have a longer first draft than me.
Yeah. Well, okay. So here's my where I'm kind of getting nervous is that I'm already at a point that I wasn't expecting to be at yet. So yeah. I have I still have like another 20,000 to go.
Yeah, but you don't need, I think as in you're worried you won't have enough of a word count.
Yeah. But I know I need to go back and like.
Yeah. But that's the thing. Then maybe you do write like me, because I tend to I think my first draft for Soul Swapped was like 60,000 words. So that's why I'm saying like I could win. I could finish before you. But you might be an underwriter as well, in which case, because I tend to I added like 20,000 plus words in revisions. So I build on what I have. I'm just saying it's a wild card. And there's a chance that I might have a finished draft in like another 12,000 words or something. So don't get comfortable with your word count, because you haven't thought about the wild card is all I'm saying.
I feel like that's cheating. Less of a wild card, more of a cop-out, more of a, I can't beat her any other way, so I'm going to just say this.
This is my method, Listen, This is just how I write. It's not a ploy to try and beat you. It's just, I think that I have to get the bones down first. Yeah. If I try to think about it too hard, I can't draft this fast. And that's something that we're drafting fast, but I'm going to need a lot. I don't know about you, but I'm going to need a lot of work on it.
Oh, yeah. Okay, well, I'll just underwrite the shit out of this. So, I'll be done tomorrow.
You could be done tomorrow, but on a less sassy note, don't worry if you feel like you're at a point where you're too far for what your word count is. I think don't pay attention to word count for this draft. You've got 50,000 plus words. That is a book, in my opinion. Anything over 40,000, I'm like, it's a book. And Courtney said that. Yeah. Courtney said that the other week, about first drafts being 40,000 or something for her.
Yeah.
Then you build on it then.
No, okay, good. I'm just going to keep going. Yeah. I'm going to race, but I'm going to race with intention to just do it right.
Yes.
But exactly. I'm still going to beat you. So there's that.
You better bring it, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, apparently, because if you might very well be finished with this first draft even next week.
Oh shit, I don't know about next week. I feel like I'm at about 75%.
Yeah.
The save the
I feel I'm at 75% as well, but
yeah,
grand scheme of things, it'll be a little less words than you. So this might
bring it.
But I'm still bringing it because I'm still the fact that we're getting these words out is so fun and so unexpected. I didn't know that you were going to be this shit talky, and it has motivated me to no end because it's so fun. I'm having so much fun being like, what's that bitch got today? And usually I'm like, damn, you did 3,000 words. Never mind.
That's all I got done in the end, though. I took the rest of the afternoon off because I was like, okay, it's like you said, I don't want to overdo it now just because we're on a good thing. I was like, in the afternoon, I was like, okay. And then I caught myself feeling anxious and overwhelmed. And I was like, girl, you do not need to do another 3,000. You did your 3,000 in the morning. So I'm also like resetting myself and but I am having fun with it. And that's the thing. I didn't expect it either because I was writing so slow before and it was like so agonizing. And it's just so encouraging, isn't it? And
yeah.
so let's just talk our ways to book 2.
Amen. Yeah. No, it's just been fun. And I haven't had this much fun writing in a while, and I think it's because I'm not so worried on getting it right, because I know I'll get it in the next round. I'm just like focusing on like, okay, get the story out. Get the plots out. Like, let's get all these fun situations out. And then I'll go back and I'll tweak and add.
Totally.
Or subtract. But like right now, I just want to have fun. And I think we talked about this once, I don't remember when, but like part of the magic of that first book that we wrote was just like, maybe we talked about this with Alexa, because I feel like she probably said this, but like, that first book was so fun because you were just going. You didn't really you weren't thinking, okay, I'm going to do this and I have to do this, so then I'm going to get an agent and I'm going to do this. You were just writing and it was just fun. And I feel like this one is just getting to have fun again and like shit talk and like be motivated and do whatever. And it's just been fun.
Honestly, nothing will delight me more than if you win. Like that's how I just realized, like, as much as we're competing, like I'm just so stoked that it's had this effect for both of us, because I think that like otherwise I was getting too fixated on like little bits and like, when you're not pushing yourself to go at this rate or just to, like you said, tell the story, I would get caught up on like, this sentence doesn't sound right. And like, sometimes it's like an hour later, you're still playing with that one paragraph and you're like, well, damn, now I've got to make lunch,
Yes.
And then you make lunch, you walk the dog, you come back, you're like, shit, it's almost time for dinner. And before you know it, the day's gone. And so, yeah, it's just really helping me push through that. So thank you for racing me. And I hope we're encouraging our listeners too.
I think so, because I've heard a few different friends and listeners that have been like, oh, I'm racing alongside you guys, or it's motivating me to keep going. And I know Lissa, she said she's shadow boxing with us, because she's working on her book too. So it's just been fun to have our little community join in and also like shit talk with us. And just be like, all right, or oh damn. And so it's been really fun.
I agree. So let's just keep cheering each other on so we get these drafts out. And like, weirdly enough, when I'm reading back over little bits, I'm like, it's not as trashy as I thought. Like, it's actually, and you even said the other day you made yourself cry the other day, like, and I had that moment too. And I was like, I think between our speed drafting and like Nova's advice to just go for the jugular and just like, like what we talked about on our live the other day, our Instagram live, it's like really, it was like one of those synchrodestiny moments again of like, it's kind of something I've been like processing to just like find, and we just talked about it with Laekan, like trying to find that peace in the moment and not, because that balance, it's so important, it's like enjoying the little moments. It's not pushing to write 3 books in 1 year. All those little things, and just like you said, you had that book club with, your sisters and whatever. And it was just like, this is it. Like, this is what I've come here for. And not putting that pressure to constantly overachieve. And yeah, like it was really cool how just had her on and she was just sharing her journey. And like, I can resonate with so much. And for me, I've been able to regulate all of that, like, mess in my head with like really regular meditation and Chinese medicine and stuff. But like, damn, it's been a journey. And like, and I think the meditation for me has been life-changing because it's made me able to catch that. A younger version of me would keep going till I burnt out over and over and over again. But it's like, it doesn't even bring you enjoyment anymore when you do it like that. And it's like you grind so hard and you get to the little moments of success and they feel empty when you're doing it that way. Whereas now I'm just kind of like, I mean, it's still a work in progress. I still have to catch myself a lot because I definitely have that like super overproductive, anxious mindset. But it's like, even my acupuncturist said to me the other day, she's like, you've turned your anxiety, she's like, and you've turned it into passion a lot. And I was just like, she like made me cry. I was just like, that's like a beautiful way to put it. Because yeah, it can feel like a handicap sometimes, but it can also, when it's reined in, and just like being now to where it's like I'm appreciating the little moments around things, like the quiet cup of coffee on my balcony, the walking my dog through but yeah, constantly focusing back on like savor these little moments, because the big moments come and go, and it's like building a lifestyle around our writing. I really loved that chat we had on our live. To anyone who missed our live, go listen. It was quite wonderful.
It was so good. It was so good. No, I think that's it, is just learning to slow down a little bit and enjoy those little things. It's like, just like they always say, stop and smell the roses and actually do it. And and like I did it yesterday. I stopped and I smelled a little rose and I was like, dang, these things, they do smell good. But it's like this stupid little things that you're just like, it makes you happy. It's not like gonna carry you through the day like, wow, that rose, man, I'm still thinking about that rose. But for that little moment, I was like, in that moment, I was looking at it and I was just sniffing away and I was like, man, life is good because I'm able to stop for a minute. And in the grand scheme of things, just like the world and all the like the madness that happens, being able to find the little things that do ground you and remind you you're okay.
Yeah.
I think it's just so valuable. And
that's so powerful, my friend. And honestly, like, it's funny, you grow up hearing that, don't forget to stop and smell the roses, and it becomes an almost like eye rolly sentiment. But like, I'm the same. If I see them, over COVID, I was a bit funny about it because I live in the city. So I'm like, somebody else might have stuck their nose in that rose.
Sure, you never know.
I was hypo. But like, as a general,
the roses first with sanitizer.
Right. But as a general, yes, I think it's such a mindful grounding thing, and such a like, I'm here, I'm alive. The rose has a smell and I want to smell it. And like, it's maybe just that one thing, it won't change your life. But I find that all those little micro moments, like just like appreciating the warmth of the cup of coffee in my hand, like that kind of mindful hygge, is it hygge, the Swedish living thing of just like savoring the smell.
How would I know some Swedish living
like
thing?
A movement, like the mild mindfulness movement, like I don't know, maybe it's not as common as I thought.
No, I feel it right now.
Amazing.
But I have to say, yesterday morning, I had a tarot card reading with my friend, Lauren, and it was so good. And one of the things that she kind of pulled was this balance card. And a lot of it was like, even like physically balancing like your physical health, because and upping your physical health because you're writing and things are going places, and so it's like you want to match that. And so she was saying to like start maybe meditate and like really focus in on the body and breathing. And I'm like, I know that's not the same concept as what you were
no saying. It is
But,
and I'm ready for you. I have all the meditations ready for you. It is.
I saw your eyes light up. I saw your eyes light up right there. And then also yoga and like.
Yes, I do. Honestly, yoga and meditation is like what is two of the most powerful things that saved me with my anxiety and stuff. Because like my route maybe wasn't the same as other people's, and like I kind of found my healing through a lot of Chinese med, a lot of meditation. And early on, when I lived with like excruciating body pain through my whole body, yoga was like the only thing that like would iron it out kind of and give me like, and it's another really great, see, yoga's perfect for you if you're struggling with meditation to start with, because meditation it's really hard to train your brain to do it. Whereas with yoga, it's an immediate grounding. You're like, you're doing something, so you have to focus. I'm stretching my arm out. So you're immediately grounding and like moving that energy through your body. So it's such a, I honestly don't know as well how people like get older without yoga. I've been saying this to my husband all the time. Like the weeks when I slack off and I'm like only do yoga once or twice, I'm like, feel like an old woman by comparison to the weeks when I'm doing my yoga every night or every other night. It's that different to me. And I'm like, I'm not surprised people put their backs out and all that stuff as they get older, because you just like, you crick your neck the wrong way and you're gone. Like,
yeah, you're done. You are done. Yeah.
So yes, I'll send you a video. I've got a good yoga one.
I'm gonna start because Lauren, the universe spoke.
Yes.
So.
It's so weird that we're talking about this, because it's weird that Laekan was saying that, like the synchrodestiny of you talking about like what you needed to talk about and whatever, because like it's definitely been the whole yin yang thing. It's been on my mind a lot, the finding the balance, because the thing is like the grounding and the downtime and the peace and whatever is so crucial for me. But I realize as well, I thrive and I live for the fire of like chasing this big crazy dream. And like and even though I can get very anxious on the podcast or like doing some of the writing things, I feel alive doing it as well. It feeds whatever it takes, it feeds more. Do you know what I mean? And I think that is the yin yang. It's the like having that, like giving yourself permission to go for the fire and chase it, but understanding that you need to balance it out with like I'm like making the yin yang symbol for you. There's the Croatian in me coming out. I'm such a handsy talker. Make the yin yang for you. The balancing of like having that quiet time. And it's hard because once you have like the excitement and the energy, it's tempting to just like continually feed into that because it's invigorating.
Yeah.
But I literally can't just do that 24/7. Most people can't.
Yeah.
The people who can, I'm like, they're drinking 12 cups of coffee a day and at some point they're going to burn out. Yeah. Like you have to have that, you know, like yesterday, like I said, I did that 3,000 words. I hammered it out in the morning. Then in the afternoon, I was so tired. I was like, no, but I want to do more words. I was like, no, there's no real deadline, bitch. Calm yourself down. Curled up on the couch. Curled up on the couch and had a nana nap with Goose for like an hour.
I love that. That sounds so nice and relaxed. But you have to.
Yeah. I'm so pro nana naps. So side note.
Oh yes, I know. How cute. Mine came in the mail, but I haven't gotten to my mailbox yet because it's a hassle.
Because it's out on the freeway.
Let me see it again. It is adorable.
So the first merch landed. Isn't it adorable? It's adorable because it's our faces, right?
Well, yes. I should say it's sexy then.
It's so adorable and sexy. I'm so stoked with it.
You did great. You are a merch queen. You are the merch goddess. It is the Redbubble bomb diggity woman. No, I added because one of our followers, one of our friends, Sid Horchata Bish, she mentioned like where's the link to this? Add the link to the your IG page. So I put it on our link tree. That you can hop right onto our link tree on our bio in our IG and find of the Publishing Persuasion merch that the Melanie Schubert created. Hashtag Save Shangela.
Looking good. I can actually see some of the green. I thought it was a trick of the eye, maybe a bit of Photoshop. I see her, the middle bit, she's looking green. Did she get a few curtain pulls with the drop of the merch?
Yes, she did. Sure did. I pulled the curtain aside. I gave her a little, you're doing great. I talked to her today. She's feeling herself. She's trying. She's really, really trying. Gave her a little sip of water today as well.
Yeah. I think she's going to be okay based on that greenery coming through. I mean, hopefully she doesn't get that plague of mites again, but.
Me too. I hope not.
Did you kill them off?
Well, I think because the plant was dead. Like there was nothing like green. And so I put it outside and I think the freaking mites like left. So I don't know if they're on another plant outside, but they're not here that I know of yet.
Okay, well, that's why I asked. I'm like, if you didn't spray her with something, there might be little eggs just waiting to hatch come spring.
Yeah, I didn't think of that, but we'll figure that out when.
Figure it out. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry I'm so ranty this morning. The coffee game was strong.
I love it.
But so back to our amazing guest.
Yes.
We should probably introduce her.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited.
I know.
Huh? I know.
Yeah.
It was this interview was one of those again where it just went so fast and we didn't even get to, because I had 13 questions for her and I think we got to 3.
You know what? With guests like her, I clock straight away that the conversation is just flowing naturally. And I'm just like, at a point, I just abandoned the questions. Because
I just wanted to hear what she had to say. Yeah.
She had so much good stuff to say and really required very little prompting. And that's what I love the most. Honestly, every time I feel like nervous about meeting a new person, like sometimes I'm not like, like we're not always familiar with everything our guests have when they come on, but it's just that like, tell me your story. You know, that's how I'm just like, I just want to tell me your story. I want to hear your story. And like with a guest like Laekan, you can just kind of sit back and hear her story because she's like a confident presence in and of herself as she speaks, and she doesn't require much prompting. So it was just such a pleasure to good job getting her on. Another beautiful kindred spirit. You just have a rate. I'm convinced that you like have some kind of like witchcraft in your veins because you just know, like these people who are just going to come on and just like drop these wisdom bombs. And I
knew it. I felt it with Laekan. I knew she was coming with it. I mean, I've heard her in different podcasts before, and she's just like a force in Las Musas, which I'm a part of. And I mean, she's just one of those people. And when I read her book, I was like, oh damn, this is beautiful. Like it's just, it's a contemporary novel, but like just her words. Chef's kiss.
Love that.
What was I good? Oh, because you know how you just called me a witch, which thank you. But I was gonna say no. I was gonna say I'm an alien. I just finished. Okay, sorry.
Did you say you're an alien?
Sorry, I was trying to segue into something, and I was trying to be smooth about it, but it just. I was stretching. I stretched that one. I loved it. I really worked hard on that. But I have to tell you, I just finished this audiobook.
Yeah.
It's called Ice Planet Barbarians.
Where did you find that?
So like it's on TikTok where people just talk about this book. Like there's like 20 books in this series. Okay, so it is about a girl, a bunch of women that get abducted by aliens, and then they.
I'm already here for it, obviously.
I know, but the first, like, it's risque. Like I
was gonna say, are they about to get probed?
So yeah. So yeah. So okay. So they get abducted, and then the ship that they get abducted on, like, loses control, and so they are dropped onto an ice planet. Okay. And so she's the leader. She's like, I'm going to go onto this random icy plane and I'm going to find help. and she comes across.
But I thought the way you said that, I thought you were gonna say, I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna find Dick.
Basically, is that is
I
basically
knew it.
And this guy, this alien, he is bluish gray. He has horns and he has a tail and he has ridges in places we can't.
Oh my gosh, I need to read this.
Yeah, this book I finished. I finished too fast. It's embarrassing how fast I finished this stupid book.
I love you for just coming out and confessing to your romp in an alien ridgy paradise.
Yeah, I didn't know that I needed that in my life, but she did. She needed it and she got it.
Yes.
So, yeah, I had to just bring that up. I had to roughly segue into that just to let you know that Ice Planet Barbarians is where it's at.
I cannot tell you how glad I am that you segued into that, because this has made my morning. And now obviously I need to read Ice Planet Barbarians as well. And apparently there's 10 books.
20. No, I don't really know that, but I think there's a
lot of ridges, my friend. A lot.
A very large ridge.
Oh, this is amazing.
I guess I'm seeing our time.
I know it's going to be a long episode, but you can't cut out the alien tentacle porn.
You can't. It's necessary.
But we should read our amazing guest's bio. And I wanted to plug her because it's right at the end. And sometimes I feel like people might not listen all the way to the end. Sometimes her YA boot camp that she's going to have.
Yes.
That sounds amazing. So maybe we'll be able to put links to that in her bio and stuff when we drop all of that.
Well, that's a great idea. Yeah, it's a debut author boot camp. And so she knows she's debuted in young adult and middle grade, and she's debuting in the picture book. So she knows, and she just knows her shit. I mean, she's been doing the thing for many years, and it shows. She has the heart of gold, man.
That's like a heart of gold.
Let's give Laekan's bio here. You guys have to know all about Laekan Zea Kemp. Laekan Zea Kemp is a writer living in Austin, Texas. Her debut novel, Somewhere Between Bitter and Sweet, was a 2022 Ura Belpre honor recipient. In addition to writing, she's also the creator and host of Author Pep Talks podcast, as well as a contributor to Las Musas podcast. Love her in both of those. You have to listen. Highly recommend. She has 3 objectives when it comes to storytelling: to make people laugh, cry, and crave Mexican food. I can attest to that because this freaking book made me starving. I was so hungry for food, Mexican food in particular. So yeah, I agree.
I love books that make me crave. I get obsessive about it. Like I will make exactly what I just read because I have to have it.
This one, it'll make you starving. Her work celebrates Chicane grit, resilience, creativity, and joy while exploring themes of identity and mental health. Yes, you guys need to follow Laekan Zea Kemp on all platforms because she really is a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah. Let's get her on.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. This is so funny. I've been listening to all of your past episodes and I love that there's a video feature. So right now I feel like I'm literally dropped into an episode of your podcast.
Yeah, I love the video feature, honestly, on Spotify. It's really fun.
I just wonder, since I also have a podcast, I always wonder like what it's like editing though when you're doing video and audio, because if you, I don't know, make a mistake, or if one of your guests says something that you don't want, or that they don't want to be included in the episode, like I'm sure it can be kind of a pain to edit.
Yeah, I don't do it. Luckily, Melanie is the guru of edits.
I invested in Wondershare Filmora, and it is so, because there's definitely, for me, the one that I love to cut out is the dead air moments, or the talking over each other moments, which it's bound to happen when you're, there's always a bit of a lag, or like you're waiting for someone to talk. So that's been just, and like I'm not that technologically savvy, so it was like such a find. It changed my life. But I do recommend it because I find, just since we're talking about podcasts, I find that for shareability, seeing the faces and like being able to share a clip where people can engage with your face, I find that it makes it a lot more, it's a bit more work, no lie. Yeah. But once you have that video file, it loads up with the audio automatically. So I recommend it, but yeah, it is work, I can tell already.
Yeah. And my podcast episodes are so heavily edited just because I'm just like, I don't know, I have a thing about it. And so especially listening to my own voice, I've gotten used to it, but just I heavily edit myself. So I spend hours more than I probably should, probably way longer than like the average podcaster does, but it's just my style, I guess. It has to be perfect.
I definitely felt like that at the start. I used to edit out all the little, I'm like, oh, my face doesn't look right here. I meant to be smiling, but I have resting bitch face on. And like, or if I said something and I just wasn't sure how it sounded or whatever. But I think like trust yourself, because people actually love those little human things. I'm realizing it's not always, well, I know I love them in Angela. I found I wasn't editing hers out as much.
Oh, thanks.
I was like,
appreciate it.
Unless it was something actually that needed to go, but like the kind of little cute human things, I was like, no, it's actually endearing sometimes to like edit too much out.
Yeah, it makes sense. And I feel like that's how I found you, like, and was I love Las Musas podcast. So that might've been one of the starts. And then I know you host, I'm trying to remember author pep talks. Like I've listened to I love podcasts. Cause it's like when you're doing things, you're living life, you're doing chores, whatever. It's just that thing. I just like to hear people talk, I guess. But yeah, I believe that's how I found you, was through a podcast. And I was like, this person knows her shit. And then I bought your book and I was like, yes, she does.
Oh my gosh, you literally just pulled it out.
Yes. Oh my gosh, the cover.
Right?
Thank you. Yeah, I love it so much.
Wow.
Yeah, no, it started with Las Musas, and that's kind of how I trained myself or taught myself how to do podcasting. And then I just thought it was so much fun. But I, with my podcast, it's a little bit more serious. Not necessarily totally like industry focused, but it's more so just asking people like, how do you do this? Like when life is also so hard. So it's been really healing and helpful for me. I find that every time I interview someone, they say almost exactly what I need to hear in that day, in that moment. And I'm sure you'll have those types of serendipitous moments too. And so for me, it's been a great way to get to know people in the industry. It's an excuse to like introduce yourself to someone, to get to know them a little bit better, so that when you start, going to conferences and festivals, you're like, oh, I know you, like we've met. And it makes the industry not feel so scary anymore too. And then also just, like I said before, the incredible advice that people share personally has been so helpful to me.
Yes, I feel that. So I feel like every time we do bring on someone, there's always a moment where you're just like, oh, thank you. I've been needing to hear that, or I was just thinking that, and you said it perfectly. And I love this writing community, the bookish community, because it feels like we're on this weird wavelength together, and we're like in flux and moving and learning, and it's just this beautiful place. And so having things like this where we do get to just chat and talk about you and learn more about you is just my favorite thing. I look forward to this time every week. So let's just get right into it, because I know you've been in the biz, you've been writing for a long, long time. So can you just give us a little look inside of your journey?
Well, like you said, it's been a long one. I mean, I've always written. It's kind of been the only thing, like when I was in school, kind of the only thing that I really excelled at. And I think when you're young, when you find that thing that you're good at, you sort of cling to it because that's the source of your confidence, that's the source of your identity. And so I really built my whole identity around that. But I didn't realize that it could be a job until I got to college and I took an intro to creative writing course. I thought I was going to major in social work because I had been doing a lot of work with nonprofits, and like, I mean, you can tell from just like the stuff I do with Las Musas, like community organizing is a big piece of my heart. So I thought that's what I was going to do. And then I took a class on writing and just realized I could major in it, that I could try to see where it went. And so that's what I did. I started writing my first book when I was a senior in high school, when I was 17, and finished it during college. I did like an independent study course where I had a professor who was my mentor, and I didn't go to a class. I just like checked in with him every week or so, and he'd like read my pages and give me feedback. And I did end up querying that first book. I didn't query it super widely. I ended up winning like a rinky-dink contest with it, and I got like $100, which was super cool. And that's how it started. And then I just kept writing more and more. My partner and I, after I graduated, we moved to Florida so that he could finish school. And first of all, we made this cross-country move, didn't know anybody, which was hard. My dad had just passed away. So I don't know, I wasn't really seeking connection. I didn't really want to leave our apartment unless I had to go to work. And so I just stayed home and wrote. And it just so happened that I had coworkers at this job that I was working at that I found through a temp agency. I was doing like data analysis, nothing to do with my creative writing degree. But all of the people who worked there, like they all also had these secret identities, like they were in bands, or they were graphic designers, or they were also writers, and they were all doing it like DIY. Like the one guy in the office who was a graphic designer on the side, he would make everybody's album covers and book covers. And so I had him make me some book covers because I was like, they're doing DIY, like this looks so fun. At the same time, like I was seeing all the success that particularly writers of color were having self-publishing, and specifically like in the romance and paranormal fantasy space. And this was like before We Need Diverse Books. So like I had an awareness that the books in bookstores didn't really have the types of characters that I was writing. And so I think that kind of pushed me to just like go the self-publishing route for a little while. Because like I said before, it just looks like a lot of fun. People are having success doing it. And it was also something I could do entirely on my own, like 100% in my control. Didn't really have to interact with many people because I was still not like wanting to do that. So I self-published for 3.5 years. So between 2012 and 2015, I self-published, 7 books.
Wow.
And that's sort of how I trained myself to be so prolific, because I do publish a lot. I write across genres and age categories. And one of the reasons is because I spent all those years like just writing as much as I possibly could, putting up online, getting that instant feedback, and then moving on to the next. And it wasn't until I wrote my debut, Somewhere Between Bitter and Sweet, and I had every intention to self-publish it like I did the others. But once I started sending it to beta readers, just the feedback I was getting sort of made me realize that it was really special and it was really different. And I could just tell that I had like leveled up in terms of craft between, you know, that book and my previous books. And I had never given up on that dream of seeing my books in bookstores. So I just thought, you know what, I'm coming off a paranormal romance series, like Somewhere Between Bitter and Sweet is a dual contemporary or dual POV contemporary romance. Like maybe this is a good time to kind of break from what I've been self-publishing and try the traditional route again. So let's see, I queried like 3 agents because I wanted to dip my toe in the water and test my query out. And they were pretty much instant rejections because the word count was way too high. So I always try to give that advice, like that if you, because, you know, people always want to argue with you, like, well, my book's different. It, you know, it can be the exception to whatever the word count rule is for that category or that genre. And it's like, no, agents will auto reject you if they look in your query letter and see your word count is too high, because they're going to be like, you don't know the industry, which was true. I didn't really know the traditional publishing industry at that time. And so there was one agent who gave me some specific feedback on the first chapter. So I rewrote the first chapter with her feedback. And then instead of querying again right away, I heard about DV Pit. And so I was querying in January, February, and then DV Pit was supposed to happen in April. And so I kind of like set that as a goal that I was going to participate in that, but I wanted to give my manuscript another pass before that happened. So I ended up using the services of the Manuscript Academy.
Yes,
which is, yes, I love them too. They have such great resources. And one of them is that you can pay for like critiques from actual industry professionals. So I paid a lot of money for a 100-page manuscript critique from agent Eric Smith. And he gave me some great feedback, and I basically revised using that feedback. And then I participated in DV Pit in April. So I wrote like 6 different pitches, scheduled them to post throughout the day. And my book wasn't like, it was kind of I don't know, it wasn't like a big breakout during DV Pit. Had more of like a quieter sort of, you know, introduction to the world. But, you know, I got agent likes and I got editor retweets, and I just made a list of all of those people who were interested, and I queried all of them immediately because, you know, I had revised my query letter. I had revised the manuscript, like it was ready to go. And so I ended up getting an agent a week after DV Pit, and then 2 weeks after that, we sold the book. So,
oh my gosh, I didn't realize it was that fast.
It was really fast.
I mean, fast, but not really, because you've been grinding, and you know, obviously you really put in the work, but like to feel it, like got the agent, boom, we sold. That's fantastic. And I even saw that, I want to say Eric Smith gave you a blurb on here.
Yep. Yeah, he did.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So that was really special. It is funny though, because I queried Eric, and you know, he didn't want to take me on as a client, which is totally fine. But he helped me so much, and then ended up blurbing the book, which was really great.
I love it so much. And I love that you've brought up Manuscript Academy, because to me, I've also used them, and it is a lot of money, but you know, I always think to myself when I'm spending that money instead of going on a weekend away or whatever it is, if I want to approach this as a career, it's an investment you're putting to back yourself. You know what I mean? And like, it does feel like an overwhelming thing to do when you're not getting paid for it straight away. Like, it's daunting. I know why people maybe avoid those things, but it really just gives you that professional touchstone, like to check in with where your work is at. And like, you knew this book had something special, but it just still needed that kind of like extra eyes on it, and like I can resonate with that, like, you know, kind of still not being aware, because I started kind of indie small press, and yeah, like coming into traditional publishing and just having like kind of no clue about like some of these marketing points that are just like an immediate rejection, you know. So yes, everyone, Manuscript Academy, save your coins, back yourself, invest in yourself. Yeah, highly recommend. And it gives you access to these, like I had Linda Camacho do mine, and it's like you suddenly have the eyes and the feedback, more importantly, of this like mega agent about what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong. And yeah, such a worthy investment.
Yeah. And it's not something that you have to do like on a regular basis or even do with every book. For me, it was worthwhile because like you said, I felt instinctually that there was something special about this particular manuscript, but also, you know, I had spent 10 years trying and failing to find the right critique partners who would help me level up, and just ended up kissing a lot of fucking frogs. Like I had no luck. And in fact, I had a critique partner who plagiarized something from a manuscript that, you know, we'd done a swap. She took something from my manuscript, and when her book was traditionally published and it came out, I of course went and bought a copy because I was so happy and proud of her and wanted to celebrate her. And I bought a copy and I read it, and then I got to the part that she took from my story, and it was just like such a gut punch.
Oh my
gosh. And that's really the worst fear, right? Like it's so scary to share your work with a stranger over the internet, and we're all crossing our fingers hoping that nobody steals our work, that, you know, nobody takes advantage of us or harms us in any way. And so after that happened, I was just like, you know what, I'm done with critique partners. It's worth it to me because of that experience to pay for critique on occasion, or it was before I was agented, just to avoid that ever happening again, because it was just so upsetting.
Damn, I had chills just like hearing that, because I was like, oh,
like angry chills, chills prickling up me. That's so wretched. And I think a lot of that happened to you. Like, man, that is bad. Like, it is scary trusting people over the internet, but that is just like, I don't even know how you could have a book on your shelf and feel proud of it when you took something from someone else. It's like that book would be it. Oh, I just can't. That's terrible. I'm sorry that happened to you.
And, you know, I share that story because people are always surprised when they hear that I don't have a writing group or critique partners. And I think before you are traditionally published, you know, that is a big goal, to sort of find your writing community and to find critique partners that you can rely on. And we almost treat it as like this milestone that you need to reach. And when people don't have that, they feel excluded, they feel lonely. And so I just try to share that, like, I don't work that way. Like, I get feedback from my agent now and my editor, and that's it. And I've been working that way for, you know, 5-6 years. It's been a really long time since I've had critique partners. And so if you're having trouble finding that community, it's okay to either, you know, just let that be and not put pressure on yourself to be swapping work with people that, you know, aren't a right fit for you. And it's also okay, like we've been talking about, to outsource that and pay someone to give you a critique if you need it.
Wow. Thank you for saying that, honestly, because I do feel like a lot of times on here, we always talk about, you know, it's about the community, but sometimes it just doesn't, you don't find that fit, or you get burned. And so it's not about always that. You have yours, you found it in your agent and your editor. And that is perfect, because that's what works for you. And I think that is so important for some people who do see all, you know, these authors out here with these, like, this gang of authors.
Yes, it's
right. It really is. Like, I, you know, going to some book signings, and it's like this gang, and you're not really allowed in, or not even because they're whatever, but just because they are here and you're not necessarily. And so it's okay to not have someone repping for you, right? Like it's okay to not have this giant critique group, because sometimes you just don't need it, and it's okay. And I love that you said that.
But what I find as well is sometimes when you do, because like as somebody who has like actively made a choice to like often choose to be alone over forcing myself into, I had writing groups I could have been a part of years ago in Australia, and they were just not for me. And I also had a few bad experiences with critique partners. And honestly, I got to a point as well where I was like, I don't even know if I want that anymore. I feel like I'm done with that side of things. But kind of allowing myself space to not be part of them, but still like be open to like having that, then meeting people like Angela, and like Pitch Wars community was really unique like that. But yeah, I definitely think we should champion being alone, because it's an important part of like your self-awareness and your self-growth, and like kind of owning what you deserve in friendships and relationships and critique partners. And yeah, if you're constantly chasing or including yourselves in these groups that maybe aren't for you, or like have a different mindset to you, or you don't trust, you never have the space for the good friends to come. I become quite brutal cutting people off in my life who I'm like friends, because I learn every time I shut down the people pleaser part of myself. It's like, oh, but they're not going to like you. They're going to hate you. I'm like, who cares? Be alone.
Yeah.
Embrace the loneliness. And every time I've done that, the right people have come into my life, and I've been able to embrace that and be ready for it, because I have very limited like energy, being like a highly anxious person who had like a major nervous breakdown. I have to be really careful who I give my energy to. So that kind of forced me to like consolidate, break off the toxic ones who drain you, and kind of wind up having these soul friends in my life. So I highly like agree with like spending that alone time and not kind of settling for the like emotional vampires, really, because there's a lot of them in this industry. Like
it's true. Well, and now you're out here thriving, because you have young adult, you have middle grade, you have picture books. I mean, like the list is growing, and I'm just so excited. All the cover, every time I see one of your covers, I'm always like, I have to have that. Yes, thank you. Like every single time. Now, is there a genre that you are finding you're flowing in a little easier, or do you have a favorite genre in particular?
I mean, I'm a very like mood-based writer, and so it just depends on like what I'm feeling at the moment. But I do want to say, and I'm bringing this up because I had a moment at ALA where I met another author, and they were sort of like praising me in the same way, like, oh my gosh, you're so prolific, like look at all that you're doing, like tell me your secret. And honestly, the secret is the reason that I was able to write so many books in between 2018 and 2020 is because I wasn't medicated. And productivity is how my anxiety manifests itself. And so I don't necessarily want people to look at all that I'm doing and think that it's the thing to aspire to. I'm not putting out 3 books next year because that's what's best for my mental health. Number one, I've got to replace my teaching salary somehow, right?
Yeah.
Which requires selling multiple books a year and publishing multiple books a year. But also, like I said before, I wasn't healthy when I was producing all of that work. And that's why I was producing so much work. And so my goal now is to do less, and to try to find that balance of like, okay, how much do I have to do to pay my bills? And then how much is just me, not being comfortable sitting still. Because I don't want to recreate the stress that I had as a classroom teacher. Like there's a reason that I left the classroom 2 years ago, because I was, so severely stressed that it was making me ill. And yet it's taken me 2 years of being a full-time writer to realize, oh, I'm I'm actually recreating those same bad habits, just in a different way. And like, I have a lot of healing that I need to do in order to create the life that I actually want. So I'm so glad you like all the all the covers. Like, yes, having all the announcements like on a regular basis, it is really exciting. But just when that writer approached me at ALA, I don't know like what compelled me to phrase my answer that way, but I was like, I'm just gonna tell her the truth. Like, because people keep praising me for this, and I want them to know that like I was sick, you know. And we can't like what we need to be talking about is, why do we have to write multiple books a year to be able to make a living doing this?
Damn.
Especially, you know, like marginalized creators. It's so much harder for us to, you know, it's so much harder for us to get an agent. It's so much harder for us when we go out on submission. Like, we're producing more content in general just because we get rejected more often. And so when you see an author of color or a marginalized author who's getting a lot of things published, well, there's probably a lot of other stuff that it's like, you know, in there that's been, what is it called, trunked, or that they've had to let go of because it was rejected, or that they had to rewrite a million times before an editor was willing to take it to acquisitions. And so, you know, I want to try to reframe it as like, yes, it's, you know, I'm happy that I get to tell so many stories and that so many of these stories are going to be out in the world. But I would also really love to like live and like pace myself and enjoy when a book comes out, you know? Even this year, I have 2 books coming out. So Heartbreak Symphony came out in April. And as soon as it came out, immediately I had to switch gears and start, you know, thinking about promoting the middle grade that's coming out in September. And it'll be, you know, even tougher to do that next year when there's 3 books. So it's not all it's cracked up to be, is what I'm trying to say.
I really appreciate you sharing that. And I can resonate with a lot of what you've said. And I'd actually like to encourage people to kind of stop asking that, which is what it's basically like a comparison question. How do you do it? How they're like almost threatened by how much you're achieving. And a lot of times people, they just see what you're pumping out rather than the person behind it. And like, you shouldn't actually have to explain. Like, I'm all for openness, and I think we should talk about mental health all the more, but you shouldn't have had to explain it to that person. Do you know what I mean? Like them kind of, yeah, it's something I hear a lot from people. How does she do it? How does she do it? And like, yeah, I can resonate with that. Like, I also at one point, writing was all I can do. Some days it is, you know, and there's this idea that like, just because you're like high functioning, I hate to use the word, but like producing a lot of stuff, that it must be easy for you. And it's such a lie. And everybody has their journey and their struggles. And yeah, it's funny you talked about the synchrodestiny of certain people coming on, and you talking about it's something I've been mulling over all week. I noticed when people say that to me, like, how do you get so much done? You're on your whatever book you're writing, you're always querying, you've got the podcast. I'm like, yeah, I do this full time. Like, but also like, I always find the need to like justify it. Like, it's because I don't have kids. It's because I write full time. But like, yeah, there's days where it's like, it's because I have a fucking anxiety disorder, my friends. It's because, you know, at one point writing was all I could do and it saved me, you know? And yeah, so I appreciate you being vulnerable and sharing that with us, because, you know, there is a lot of like anxiety and panic attacks and mental health in this industry. Like, we're all very creative, very hyper aware souls. And so thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. And it was because the author who approached me was another author of color that I felt comfortable speaking to her in that way. And I almost felt like I wanted to like protect them from doing what I did. Like, because like I said before, the habits I had weren't necessarily something to aspire to. But the thing is, now that I am medicated, that I'm able to like cut through that pressure a little bit more and think a little bit more clearly. I'm not as worried constantly about finances as I used to be, because I'm not constantly making up disaster scenarios in my own head. I mean, I still struggle. Like today has been a really bad day because I have a book due next week. And I'm just, my body is feeling it. Like I'm not sleeping well. I'm, clenching my jaw all night long. So when I wake up the next day, like I have these shooting pains all day long. So today I didn't write at all because I was like, I'm not going to be able to do it. So it still affects me, but I have seen a huge change in my ability to most of the time manage the stress and make better, healthier decisions for myself, because I can think more clearly. And honestly, like, and I've shared this story before too, the only reason that I am on medication is because I saw Angie Thomas tweet about her getting on anti-anxiety meds and how much it was helping her in just her own work-life balance. And this was several years ago, back when it was still sort of like stigmatized for me. I was kind of scared of getting on medication, even though deep down I knew I really needed it. And her tweet just like changed everything for me, because I admire her so much. And I was like, if she's doing it and she's willing to talk about it, then I should at least, look into it. And that tweet, just seeing that tweet completely changed my life. So I feel like if anyone listens to our conversation and is thinking about medication, maybe they're, a little, like I was feeling a little trepidatious about it, like just have a conversation with your doctor, because it might, have the kind of effect on you that it's had on me, which is just giving me so much more space and peace and joy.
That's beautiful. And it's something that I think is going to resonate with our listeners, because I feel like we feel this pressure, right, to just keep producing. And as soon as we sell one book, we've got to work on the next so we can sell, so we can do all these things. And it's just building and building and building. And so just hearing you just, this epiphany of just like, okay, something's not right here, and taking the time to really like focus on yourself is huge. And I think it's something we all have to really do. And like, I think writing and this career, it's like a long game. Like that is the goal, right? Is to do this for as long as you can. But if you are suffering and your mental health is suffering, you can't sometimes. And so taking care of yourself is also taking care of yourself, which is the most important, but the end game, which is then I can keep being creative and I can keep producing, but at a healthy level, and something that, isn't going to wreck me in the end. So thank you for saying that. Especially I've noticed, like, in the Latina community, talking mental health can be this this stigma of we don't talk about that in this family, and so to talk about it is so important. And it's something, in my family we're working on, but it's
yeah. And if they're Catholic Latinas, then it's like, well, you just need to pray harder. That's my grandma's thing. Because our mental health issues are genetic. I know, like, everything that I deal with that my grandfather has dealt with, but it was invisible because Latina men in particular are not allowed to express that. So, but I will also say, doing what you can to take care of yourself, like that is great, and we all need to prioritize that, but it's not going to fix the system, right? The publishing industry as a whole. Like there's nothing we can do as individuals that is going to completely insulate us from harm when we're moving through a system that takes advantage of creators, and especially marginalized creators. And like I said before, doesn't pay us a living wage. So I can choose to take a break, which I'm doing right now. I'm not writing a YA book this year, but there will be consequences for me on the other side of that, right? Because the industry is not changing along with me.
Yeah.
So those are conversations that we also have to continue to have, that it's not on authors it's not on us alone to make the industry more equitable. Publishers have been saying publicly for a couple of years now that they want to prioritize, diversity, equity, and inclusion. But what have they done to make that happen? I don't necessarily feel it in my own personal life and career.
Yeah.
So we have to keep pushing for that too.
That's it right there.
Yeah. Well, I'm just looking and I see our time is like, I'm just like, what? Thank you so much for coming on and just sharing all these truths and just, so much inspiration. We'll have to have you on again. I'm sure there's we barely scratched the surface. Where can our listeners find you?
So I'm at Laekan Zea Kemp across all social media platforms. I'm laekanzeakemp.com is my website. And I'll just plug really, really quickly before the time runs out that I am launching a 15-week debut author bootcamp at the end of August. I know there's so many free resources like on TikTok and YouTube where authors are giving great advice, but there's a lot of things like this conversation today and others that are better in a small setting, sometimes better in private. We're going to go in depth into everything you could possibly want and need to know about the debut experience and just the industry in general. So if you'll follow me on Twitter or if you'll sign up for my newsletter, then you'll get information about how to sign up for that because there will be limited slots available. And then hopefully it'll be something that I can run going forward twice a year.
Amazing.
You are it. You are it. I swear. You are just you feed the community so much, and I just appreciate you so much. I mean, we had Alexa Dunn on whatever it was, 2 weeks ago, and she was that person that I was always watching her videos and learning so much, and you are that for me as well because you invest back into the community. I just want to let you know that I appreciate you and that so many of us look up to you and are watching and are learning, and so you just keep doing your thing. No, thank you.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, we had a great time talking, and we have to get you on again because we have to talk about the Legend of La Chusa or Omega Morales because I am invested in that middle grade. So we'll have to get you back.
Okay, sounds good. Thank y'all.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful night.
Bye.